Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's sports podcast. It's Friday, the 17th of June 2022. I'd just like to start by saying thank you to everybody who wished me well after my brief stint in hospital last weekend for an operation having a kidney stone removed. So I'm still a little bit tired, but I'm feeling generally okay. But like I say, thanks to everybody who's showed the concern for me, and hopefully it won't impact this week's podcast. I've had a little bit less time to prepare for it, so hopefully it won't be less of a standard or quality than it usually is. So without further ado, let's get on with it. And we're going to start with cricket this week, and we'll start by talking about England. England wrapped up the Test series against New Zealand with a 2-0 victory following the second Test win at Trent Bridge. Thank you in main to the fantastic batting performance by Johnny Bairstow. He scored 136 not out of, I think it was 92 balls. It was 2 balls too slow in terms of trying to get the fastest ever Test century by an England cricketer. He just missed out on equaling or breaking Gilbert Jessop's record, which was set in 1902. But yeah, 136 off 92 balls, giving England a victory by 5 wickets with 22 overs to spare. Other great performances during the match with the bat: Joe Root 176 in the first innings, including a fantastic scoop to get to 170, and also Ollie Pope 145. Just a few other footnotes on that. Joe Root is now back to number 1 in the ICC World Test rankings, batting wise, and Ben Stokes up to number 22, and John Bairstow's up to 39. Also to point out, the fastest ever Test century by any player is by the New England coach Brendan McCullum, who actually watched that game. It was his last ever Test match. He scored, I think it was century for lunge, possibly against Bangladesh. It was a great innings, so obviously influencing the team already with that result. And now we're going to the third Test, which was technically it's a dead rubber now. Third Test on Thursday, starting on Thursday. I have a ticket for that game. I may not be going because of my health issues, but we'll see how it goes. I've got it for sale, so we'll see what happens. But it should still be a good match. Moving away from the Test scene, County Championship, couple of things. Yorkshire, a bit of a mixed week for them really. News that David Willey is leaving at the end of the season. He cited issues with the club, saying the focus isn't on the team or the players at the moment, the mental health, things like that. Disappointing. Obviously I don't want to go into the political stuff, but the announcement's been made this week about the inquiry, and 7 people being charged with bringing a sport into disrepute due to the allegations of racism brought by Razim Rafiq several months ago, or even last year. So we'll see how that goes, but I don't want to talk about that here. Also, like I say, disappointing that Willey's leaving, and a disappointing result for Yorkshire. We lost by 2 wickets to Hampshire, which means they lose ground on 3rd place. Lancashire, who won by 4 wickets, I think, at Warwickshire. Yorkshire had Harry Brook released by England to play. He got 76 in the first innings, but he can't do it all on his own. And starting to struggle. They're 4th, but they're doing alright, but probably not as well as they would hope. But like I say, the off-field issues can't be helping either. So 2 wicket loss to Hampshire, who are in 2nd place in the table at the moment. Moving on to the local league stuff, and there was a bit of a mixed bag of stuff going on last weekend. Some high scoring games, not so high, and then some games dominated by the ball. Bradshaw had a fantastic 10 wicket victory against London Foot. London Foot were all out for 85 in their innings, thanks mainly to 5 wickets for 43 by Anthony Langton and 4 wickets for 18 by Aaron Buckley. And when it came down to batting, Bradshaw's openers Matty Crowther and Piers Fisher were unbeaten. Matty scoring 46, Piers scoring 33, and knocking the runs off without any loss at all. So that's a really good result for Bradshaw. Also a really good result for Sowerby Bridge. They beat Whiley by 6 wickets. Whiley scored 205 for 8. The main protagonist there and contributor with the bat was Nolan Bottomley. He scored 71. And then Sowerby Bridge. First of all, I'd say congratulations to Tom Belfield on his marriage to his partner the previous day, the Friday, Laura Pollard. So congratulations, Tom. He was also the top scorer. He scored 42. All 6 players that batted for Sowerby scored at least 23. So it was an all-round performance in knocking off the top runs. Like I say, they reached the 208 for 4. Fantastic result for them as well. Elsewhere, Thornton just managed to see off Booth. Thornton were 270 all out in their innings, thanks mainly to Josh Hutchinson's fantastic 106. He's having a good season with the bat. Is Josh fantastic so far this season? Patrick Thomas took 4 for 70 for Booth, and he also featured with the bat when they came to bat. We just couldn't quite pull it off. We got 263 for 6, so there were 7 runs short at the end of their 45 overs. Wajid scoring 65, Rob Laycock scoring 59, Sagir scoring 42, and Pat Thomas, like I say, Patrick Thomas for 35 not out. Greg Soames probably just about swung it for Thornton. He took 3 for 62. So Thornton sneaking home there. Copley beat Illingworth by 42 runs. Copley scoring 229 for 7, batting first. Alex Rowell scoring 68. Ollie Thorpe also contributing 47, and he's having a really good season. When it came round to Illingworth batting, the 187 all out. Gaz Fellows, fantastic performance again by him. 119 centuries, that's his second or his third this season. That's some really good scores. 119 out of 187, but Ollie Thorpe was the man again, 5 for 38, seeing Copley home there. Myvan Roy, disappointing result for them, 55 all out. Jacob Travis scoring 24, he was the only man in double figures for Myvan Roy, and it was Ollie Benson for 4 for 23 and Alex Schofield with 4 for 26 who did the damage. They did manage to take 3 wickets in Myvan Roy, so SBCI reaching the total, we're getting 57 for 3. So no great shakes there, they won that comfortably. Moving on to the final game of last weekend, Triangle beat Great Orton Park Chapel in a very low scoring game. Both sides were all out. Triangle batted first, 119 all out. Steve Senior being the main man with 34 there. Marshall Grief took 5 for 79 and Dominic Anderson 4 for 35. So Triangle 119 all out there, but in response Great Orton Park Chapel 109 all out, just 10 runs short, and Carl Fletcher was the man who helped see Triangle home. He took 5 for 41. So some very interesting results there. And then now moving on to this weekend's fixtures. As you'll know, today's weather, it's very warm, but it's due to break down overnight, so hopefully it won't break down to the point where it spoils tomorrow's games, because we've got some fascinating contests in prospect. Bradshaw are at home to Worley. Great Orton Park Chapel are at home to SBCI. Illingworth are at home to Booth. Ludfoot are at home to Copley. Myvan Roy are at home to Sowerby Bridge, and Thornton are at home to Triangle. So yeah, so we've got some interesting clashes there coming up, and good results for both the teams I follow closely, but last weekend. So let's hope they can keep that run of form going this weekend as well. So good luck to the guys at Bradshaw and at Sowerby Bridge. Okay, moving on from cricket now, we're going to talk about football. We'll start with England, although I'm not sure we should start with England after the 4 games they've had in the Nations League have resulted in no victories and they're staring relegation from Group A in the face. It was all topped off by a really poor performance on Tuesday evening at Molineux against Hungary when they were beaten 4-0. John Stones saw red 5 minutes from the end, which was a pretty poor decision in my opinion. John Stones was probably one of the better players actually on the night. But England just didn't perform well at all. It wasn't the first choice team. Maybe they took Hungary a bit lightly. Maybe they're tired after the long season they've had. But they struggled and they haven't won a game. They drew the previous Saturday 0-0 with Italy in quite a dour game. I believe that's the one I missed. But France have also been relegated already from their group, so it's not looking as though some of the teams are too bothered about this Nations League at the moment. Probably fixated more or focused more on the World Cup, which is in November and December in Qatar. Talking of a World Cup, the last 2 qualifiers for the World Cup were finalised this week. Australia have reached the final. They beat Peru in their playoff game after winning on penalties, and Costa Rica beat New Zealand 1-0 in their playoff game on Tuesday. So the last 2 qualifiers, Australia and Costa Rica. On the more local scene, FC Halifax Town have signed Jack Hunter from Gateshead. He's an up-and-coming talent, and Gateshead won the Conference North last season, so let's hope he's going to be some long lines of Kieran Green, who we've plucked from York in the Conference North, and he's been a good player for us so far, looking very good talent. In other news, skipper Niall Maher has moved on, or will be moving on when his contract expires at the end of the month. On the 1st of July, he was signing with Grimsby on a 2-year deal, so good luck to Niall at Grimsby. He's been a good servant to us his time with the club. I'd like to thank him for his efforts. Sure, like all Town fans would, and let's hope we can get on with the rebuilding process now, and we don't lose too many more of the players we already had in the squad. I still think there's an issue with trying to get season tickets. Don't forget, you need to get your ticket before the 30th of June at £329 if you're getting one, otherwise it goes up to £349 after the 30th of June. Okay, moving on now, Rugby League, and Halifax Panthers bounced back from their previous defeat at Lee by having a comeback victory at Whitehaven. Tough place to go, they were 12-6 down at half time, but eventually they won 24 points to 12. So it's quite tight at the top. I think they're in 5th place at the moment, but all the teams keep winning, and they're sort of paying a little bit for those poor results at the start of the season, but if it can keep going, I'm sure they'll overhaul Batley and York The next game is on Premier Sports Live. There's no game this weekend. They're playing Barrow away at Premier Sports Live Monday the 27th of June, so I'll remind you of that next week. Stock cars. Last weekend saw a final victory for John Lund at the age of 67, I think he is, 67, 68. Oldest driver to win a final. He actually finished second in a race, but Geoff Gibson jumped the restart in the restarted final, and he was docked 2 places, so Lundy took the victory, and that's great to see him winning at such a grand age. So this weekend we've got the last qualifying round for the World Championship. It's at Ipswich tomorrow evening. We've got a good turnout of cars. I think they had 38 booked last time I saw, including all the top guys. Just one point I want to note is that the World Championship semi-final has been moved from Sheffield. It was supposed to be held on Sunday the 31st of July. It's now been moved to Odsal Stadium at Bradford on Saturday the 30th of July. Apparently it's due to the stadium being unavailable. So I think a lot of people will be quite pleased. The drivers probably don't like the track too much at Sheffield because of the fence and the narrowness of the track. But don't forget basically that there's a British Championship next weekend as well at Odsal, and I'll focus on that next weekend in the podcast. Just one other thing I want to mention, or one or two other things I want to mention. I don't normally talk about athletics, but local lad Max Burgin, he's only 20. He did the 4th fastest 800 metre time by a British athlete ever this week in the Paavo Nurmi Games, I think it's Finland. He won the race, but he now stands behind, I think it's Steve Cram, Sebastian Coe and Peter Elliott as the 4th fastest Brit ever at that distance. He's got the UK Athletics Championships coming up in Manchester. Hopefully we'll look at qualify for big events such as the Olympics and the World Championships now. You'd like to think we will be able to compete at the top level if he can do the time that he did during the week, if he can get a bit of consistency. His dad, his coach is Ian, he was a good middle distance runner in his time for the local Halifax Harriers club as well. So Max, if you're watching this, good luck for the future. Hope you do well, and let's see you get some medals and bring some more success for Halifax like Hannah Cockcraft has done in the Paralympic Games. Anything else? The golf's on at the moment, the US Open golf. Obviously, don't even talk about the controversy of a live to break away from the Saudi Arabia back group. But Rory McIlroy will be looking to win the US Open. He made a decent start from what I saw yesterday. We've got, I think it might be, we've got Azerbaijan Grand Prix motor racing this weekend. Something in my mind sticks. It's this weekend. Not sure. I haven't looked at that, but I don't follow it that closely. I think that's about it really. So sorry it's a little bit shorter than normal. I think I've covered all the main things, and hopefully back up to full strength next week. And until then, it's bye from me for now. Bye.